I'm Josh Cooperman, and this is another installment of Convo by Design presents WestEdge Wednesday, a look back at all of the incredible programming from the 2023 edition of the WestEdge Design Fair, held at the Barker Hangar in Santa Monica, California. These conversations were held on a stage designed by Marbe Designs and presented by BR Home. This is part 6 in our series, entitled Leveling Up: How Minimizing Waste Leads to Better Design and Better Business. The design industry disposes of over 12 million tons of furniture and generates 500 million tons of construction waste in the U.S. every year. Interior designers, architects, general contractors, and manufacturers are spearheading design solutions for a low-waste future. Learn how this is better for our health, the planet, and your business. This panel includes Claudia Afshar of Claudia Afshar Design, Rachel Grokowski of RGHA&D, Greg Roth of Carbon Shack Design, and moderating this conversation is Women in Luxury Design's Jennifer Convey. Thank you to Convo by Design partners and sponsors Thermosol, Moya Living, and Design Hardware for making the podcast possible. And thank you for listening and watching these episodes. For links to all our partners, guests on this episode, WestEdge Design Fair, Marbe Designs, and BR Home, please check the podcast show notes for links. And you can find that at convobydesign.com and click the podcast tab. Thanks for watching and listening. Here's Jennifer Convey.
Thank you, Josh. Welcome, everybody. Good morning. It's nice to see your nice faces. Did everybody have a good time last night? Yes? Show of hands. How many were there? Yeah, good. Well, we know who the people, the empty seats, stayed late. I'm really thrilled to be here and honored. Thank you, ASID, Los Angeles, Jackie Steinberg right there, for putting this fantastic group of talented people together. And I was just honored to be asked to step in to moderate. So a real privilege, and I'm very excited about this topic. First off, I just want to, first of all, read everybody's bios. I have to read it because we've been editing truthfully right now, but they're so accomplished. Claudia Ashfar, right here to my left, led by London-born and Los Angeles-based interior designer Claudia. She is a world-renowned luxury interior designer firm, and with projects worldwide, their talented team, extraordinary environments that redefine opulence, from lavish residence to boutique hotels, her timeless elegance and sophistication shines through. With international acclaim and industry awards, Claudia Ashfar Design is trusted by high-profile individuals and luxury brands. Claudia and her team advocates for eco-friendly solutions, which drives the team's efforts in incorporating sustainable material where possible, as well as collaborating with companies whose beliefs align with theirs. Welcome, Claudia.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. A round of applause, please, for her. And next, our next lovely lady is Rachel Grokowski, founder and principal architect, RHG Architecture and Design. Welcome. Rachel is an award-winning architect, designer, thought leader, and keynote speaker who is leading the conversation of designing what truly matters. She believes that design surpasses simply being beautiful. Design has the power to inspire a sense of calm, interconnectedness, presence, and gratitude, leading to the belief that design is spiritual. Welcome, Rachel.
Thank you so much.
And last but certainly not least, in the bright orange jacket, we have Greg Roth, senior, woohoo, yes, you go ahead, you have fans. Senior interior designer, Carbon Shack Design. You may have seen the booth. Please do go see it today. Greg brings more than 20 years of experience in the world of architectural, graphic, and interior design, with a visual arts degree from Brown University and a Master of Architecture degree from Southern California Institute of Architecture. Greg spent several years in commercial and hospitality architectural design before segueing into residential interiors. As senior interior designer, Carbon Shack Design, Greg focuses his talents, passions, and energies on creating vibrant, inviting spaces for contemporary living with a conscientious emphasis on sustainability. Greg approaches each project with earnest curiosity and diligence, seeking ways to find design solutions that enhance and optimize the client's experience. Welcome, Greg.
Thank you so much. Glad to be here.
You are so welcome, and I'm thrilled to have you here. Okay, so just in case we've forgotten, because we've been talking for a while, this panel is Leveling Up: how minimizing waste leads to better design and better business. Guys, I just want to read a quick description of this. We are in an industry that tosses out over 12 million tons of furniture and generate 500 million tons of construction waste in the US every year. Interior designers, architects, and general contractors and manufacturers are spearheading the design solutions for a low-waste future. Learn how this is better for our health, the planet, and your business from all of these fabulous people here today. So that's the discussion. Welcome, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Tell us, each of you are, experts in your field, and you've been long, this is a mission, a passion mission for each of you. So I would just like for you, in your own words, we'll start with you, Claudia, how important is this mission to lower the waste in our design industry? How urgent is it?
It's very urgent. But I think, hello, firstly, thank you for having me today. Thank you to the AI. Thank you, SDA. I appreciate it. I think as a designer, people get confused or maybe overwhelmed with the thought of sustainability, because it's just, where do you start and how do I incorporate that into my practice? And so I think today it was really important for me to be here and be up here with these guys to really see how we could help the community and educate everybody as a team to say, hey, it's actually not that difficult. And even if you just do little things in your practices, it will make a huge difference to our community as a whole. I'm not saying go in there and only use sustainable products, only shop and reuse everything that you can on the project. That's not necessarily our intention. It's basically all the different ways that you can take a little bit and emphasize it into your own practice. We'll get into it.
We'll get into it, definitely. And Rachel, your practice, I know, again, this is a passion mission. It's part of your business. Explain how urgent and important this is to you in your field.
Yeah, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. For me, I was born into a family of environmentalists, so it's not just part of my business, it's part of who I am. And so, this idea that we need to be conscious of the materials we're using is something that 25 years ago I was thinking about in grad school and told, don't bother, right? So I feel like this conversation, I feel a little bit like, thank God, like we're finally here. We're finally actually looking at it in a way that's not just about greenwashing or not just about, passive solar. Like there's a lot of things that we can do. But I agree that it's the small steps. It's about acting responsibly as an individual and making decisions whether your clients really know or not. That is going to change the industry and hopefully make a big difference for our world.
Hopefully. Thank you. And Greg, how important and urgent is this in your world?
Yeah, it's extremely important and extremely urgent. And I think that what I feel is important for us to do as designers and leaders in the community is to bring awareness. There is a lot that can be done. There's a lot to do, and it can be overwhelming. And I think if you start with being aware of just having a consciousness of what is happening in the industry and what you can do, that's where we can make a difference. I mean, there's so much emphasis on pollution and ways that we can make a difference in the cars we drive or the energy we use in our homes. There's a lot of emphasis on that, and there isn't that much, generally speaking, in our industry. So bringing awareness to the fact that there's a lot of work that we have to do,
Right.
I think is where we can begin.
Right. No, absolutely. And really, all of you and everybody here in the design industry, the luxury design build industry, we can be the stewards for change and educate our clients and our vendors and people. But, the question is, and each of you bring up, awareness. Where do you start? Start small, but how? So we're going to unpack some of that here today. I'd love to know the specifics. Give us some specifics. For instance, in sustainability practices and thoughts and philosophy in your firm, no matter how small, big? Claudia, go ahead.
Yeah. So we many years ago we were doing a celebrity's house, and he was on set doing a big movie, and we had about 4 months to renovate 16,000 square feet. And I mean, brand new kitchens, brand new drapery, new furniture, everything. And so we came in, and I was like, this is so exciting. I can't wait to work on this project, but I'm so upset about how much waste we're just going to junk. And I had no understanding at the time what to do with all the materials. So we had drapery that was 18 feet long and appliances that were brand new that we could never use, never been used, and we were just checking them out because the client didn't want them. And so I came back to my team at the time and I said, listen, most of us are European. I come from a different upbringing where waste is not to this magnitude. And how can we as a team be working to actually give back to our community and actually dedicate some time towards a passion that we're all sustainably proud of? So we looked into non-profit organizations here locally that we could donate some of the appliances. Actually, H&M at the time were doing things, didn't matter if it was clothing, but it was just fabric in general. You could give them tons and tons of fabric, and they would break it down, refine it, and use it to basically make new clothing out of.
That's fantastic. Yeah.
Loads
so reuse, repurpose.
Exactly.
Right.
We're not the type of company that's going to say, hey, we can reuse this in your project. We understand high-end clients don't always want to reuse what they're getting rid of. But if you come in there with an intention and actually an understanding and you're educated as to different nonprofits and different localizations and different options, they really actually admire it and welcome it, and they really want it.
The key is finding out where and how to find those, which we'll dive into.
So we were even, sorry, one other thing was even
please.
boxes. You know, boxes is, you do an installation and you may have hundreds and hundreds of boxes being dismantled, and then the plastic that's in the boxes and all the junk that's everywhere, and you can't wait to get it off the job site.
Right.
It just goes to the landfill.
I
So we
know.
were looking at ways to find secondary companies that would take those boxes
Exactly.
and reuse them for
Right.
another person's
I
installation.
know a cardboard recycler. Anyway.
And just one thing before everybody gets involved, but we've been speaking with the GFDA. They haven't
I'm
got
gonna talk about it.
They haven't got a huge presence here yet.
Yes,
but
GFDA.
they're here.
Yes.
They're making their way to Los Angeles, and it's a privilege because
Good Future Design Alliance. I recently discovered them. They're in the house. Amazing, amazing organization. We're going to jump into that a little bit more, but you must find them. Go online.
definitely speak with her today.
Yeah.
But we're really excited that she's here, and
Catherine's
so
right
happy
here.
to be a
Yeah.
part of it.
Wonderful.
So our philosophy has been, there's a lot of similarities, of course. You know, where we started, when I was working for other firms, we really didn't focus on sustainability or where to put the product that we were pulling out of houses, whether it was furniture or it was architectural elements. And I really got down on the industry. I felt like I really wasn't in my purpose. I wasn't really sure how much longer I could create luxury for vanity. And so I actually started looking around at, you know, maybe doing product design and focusing on repurposed materials. Somehow I got back into architecture and design, started my own firm. And at that point, that's when I was really able to dive into all of these aspects. I actually, in that time in between, I had been living in Atlanta, and I came across this organization called the Warehouse. No, sorry, that's the one in New Jersey. It was an organization that I volunteered for where you could donate your furniture, and it was then used for people who were recently homeless. And so that was like my first thought of like, wait, what can I do? What can I do to make a difference? Not just for the waste that we have, but for people in need. And where that gave me a sense of purpose again. So we started, every time we would start a project, we'd look for where can we place this furniture. Also, we started doing LEED certified projects where we, of course, we're taking the material out of the building, recycling, also saving elements from the building that would either end up being a design element. I also started a furniture line at that point that's called Legend by RG, where we took the structural material out of the buildings
That's
and
really
then
cool.
repurposed it into furniture. So we really dove in, and I think once you find the resources, it becomes easy to do.
Much
it
easier.
Can become
It's
part
how
of
to
your
find them, where to
practice.
look by
Yeah,
telling
but it's over
people.
time.
Yeah, it
Right?
is.
Because you can't
is.
spend all of your time finding these resources.
No, that's a full-time job.
Yeah, it is a full-time
That's
job.
We're going to pick your brains.
Yeah,
Greg,
yeah.
Yes, let's hear
Yeah,
some of
so
the things you do.
I think we start with conversations with the clients and ask them what their interest level is in sustainability, in reducing waste. And if it's not on their consciousness, we bring it to their consciousness. We were at a client this week, actually, they want to rip out their kitchen, which they need to because it doesn't look like anybody can use it. And, but they have appliances, they have cabinetry that is still functional. So we had a conversation with them about finding organizations to make donations of these items to, and then they get a tax write-off and they're on board. So that's one way that we put these ideas into practice. Another one, you mentioned packaging and cardboard and plastics. It's great to find another use for them, but it's also great to make it known to the suppliers that you find this to be problematic and work with them at the source to find other ways, other materials and other ways of using those materials that are less wasteful.
Another.
Sorry.
Okay, guys. Go ahead.
No.
Go
So
ahead,
it
Rachel.
reminded me, it was probably now like 15 years ago, that there was, and I don't even remember what the brand was, but we kept ordering from a company who was packaging their stuff with this foam. It was like a spray foam. And we couldn't, it would be like this tiny little thing in this huge box with like massive amounts of chemical foam. And we contacted them and we talked to them about it, and they actually changed their practices. So it
That's pretty
actually
great.
does make a difference.
And you're being
to
an
some-
advocate.
You're the consumer, so you're
Right.
paying for the product, and if you demand, as the designer who's making those
That's right.
purchases, that they change their ways and practices, then they listen. A lot of times they'll listen.
Another thing to add is, yes, if you can purchase locally and use local mill workers and things like that, you're obviously in luck and helping yourself. But if you can't and you're ordering from Italy, like many of us do, we even sometimes will try and find a storage unit that will basically take care of everything. And then we have everything ship in one go, as opposed to having multiple shipments. Firstly, that's great for the client because they're not paying for endless amounts of shipment. And secondly, you're just being very, thoughtful about, the sea and everything
Right.
else. So we really try and think about that.
Right. Couple things that you've covered. So Europe, for instance, is way ahead of us in the waste. You touched upon that, which you were shocked to see the amount of waste here. It just simply doesn't happen. I was just in Phoenix, where, part of California, Phoenix, we all share the same water supply. We were getting fined here. There were no fines there. They have less water. They're the desert. And we did a panel there on this Australian ASID, Northern Arizona Australian board member, who is an interior designer, stood up, and she was kind of riled. And she says, I don't understand. In Australia, it's just a way of life. We use gray water for agriculture, and everybody uses it. Everybody does that. It's just mandatory, and it's regulated. And I don't understand if there's. And I said, so are you saying there needs to be repercussions and punishment for people to do this? Well, maybe so. Maybe so. It works if you hit their pocketbook. It's like, I got to think about this. Despite yourself. So I'm wondering if your clients are becoming sustainable despite themselves, if you can sneak in just better choices. Hopefully that's the goal. We just make better choices naturally, right?
I mean, I think that's the point. Is, we know what the industry is, so if we can tap into our own ethics and our own values and then operate that way, then there's no question. We don't have to ask the client, do you want this sustainable material? We might present, we don't even have to tell them that's sustainable, or we don't have to tell them that we've called the organization to remove the cabinets and the appliances, and by the way, they're going to get a tax
No,
credit.
but when you do tell them, they actually really like it. They're very happy.
But sometimes they don't.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're just like, hey, that's too much effort.
I feel good about myself now.
Because the general contractors, they won't necessarily do it. We as designers and architects have to coordinate it. So no, you're right. Like, but sometimes they're like, does that cost more? I had a client recently who we were stripping the woodwork, and they said, well, isn't it cheaper if we use a chemical strip? And I said, well, yes, maybe, but it also is not just a chemical for you and your family, but it's the people who are actually stripping the wood.
Oh, yeah.
So once I made it personal for them, they were like, yes.
Well,
But
I think
before
you need
that, they
to.
were like,
I
no.
think when you make the argument about personal wellness and health inside the home,
That's a good
that
argument.
is a different conversation.
Right.
I mean, we're having the same conversation, but with the client, it rings a different bell
Sure does.
than sustainability and the planet.
So
sometimes.
that also factors into families. I'm sure all of us work with families, and everyone, especially in the high-end bracket, they really care about their children, like as we all do, but they want non-toxic paints, and they want to be mindful about the rugs that the kids are on. And so every time you can, I think as designers, you just get very comfortable with your Rolodex.
Go-to list.
Your go-tos.
The people that deliver, the people
Exactly.
under pressure.
Exactly.
You know, out of sight,
It's-
out of
I know
mind,
these
just go to
guys for
them.
faucets. I know these guys for this and that. If you can extend yourself a little bit and educate a little bit to those non-toxic solutions, it's
Right.
just nice to be able to offer that to the clients as well.
Right.
Not always just be stuck in your same.
If I may, there seems to be more prevalent attention to sustainability. I'm seeing it in the markets and discussions, whereas a few years ago, we wouldn't be the first panel of WestEdge. Just saying. It's true, and it's nice to see that. But I'd love to know from each of you, and you are touching upon it a little bit, we did hear, and we continue to hear about wellness, right? So for each of you, and you are touching upon, what is the intersection from health and wellness and sustainability? Because I'd like to address that, because I think there's some confusion sometimes, but there is overlap.
Yeah. Well, I want to just jump back 1 second to your comment about Australia. And I think, I was saying before that we as designers and builders can have an influence on the industry, but I also think there's an issue of policy. I don't know what the policies are in Australia, but the policies here, there's a lot of room for change for incentivizing producers and consumers to be more mindful, to be less wasteful, and to have a conscience about what we're doing and the sort of landfills that we're creating out of our industry, right? So I think we also have an opportunity to advocate and ask our city and local and government officials to
be an advocate.
look at those ideas.
Also, you talked about, we had a talk about this. You were talking about designers can go to vendors, ask for eco-friendly fabrics and say, well, if you get them, I'll come and buy them. They know they have a customer and you're requesting it.
They are so much more available now.
Yeah,
you
they
really
are.
can get,
They are.
friendly fabrics, and we use them all the time, indoor outdoor fabrics that we can use in a house, and we intentionally want that, so that families can, dogs, kids, etc., but it's still super luxurious. They're now even adding like a cashmere feel to a lot of those indoor outdoor fabrics, so you'd never know. Quality is progressing, and I think it's in production as well as in our supply and also what we're buying. But I just think it's about us being mindful, but also the client will benefit as well from those items. I think when people think about sustainability, they think it's going to be ugly, and that's been the general for a really long time. But that's just not the case.
Luxury, you don't think sustainable. Gosh, it can't be pretty.
That's not the case anymore.
I know.
There's
It's
not
true.
the case, and there's so many
Questions
different
are coming.
solutions.
What? No, we're going to have Q&A after. Yeah. I can't hear you. We'll do it later. I'm so sorry. Thank you. I want to read you something here. I saw this great article, and it was abandoning demolition in favor of deconstruction. Now, I really want to talk about that. It's the practice of dismantling building components so that they can be used again, instead of becoming waste in a landfill. So what are some of the ways you touched upon it, Rachel? Because You have, and you do it. But let's talk about some of those things. Dismantling kitchens. Have another article here. This article was of this year. I just want to read this to you. Americans were estimated to spend $427 billion on home improvement this last year, and that was approximately the price they spent in 2022, right? We're all home in lockdown going, we improve. It surpassed new build by 20%. That's been the first time in decades. Kitchen renovations and bath remodeling are the most popular home improvements. That's 80% of the remodeling business. Now, this is astounding. So obviously kitchens and baths add to a home's value and things, but what happens to a perfectly good kitchen with appliances that still work and those get in a dumpster, put out front? I've heard some really interesting things that you can do. Greg, do you want to address that?
Yeah, there are plenty of organizations,
Yeah.
more and more these days, that will take those appliances, those cabinets, those countertops, the flooring, and repurpose them. They'll either sell them, they'll donate them, they'll refurbish them. So really, again, it's about educating and awareness and looking for those organizations. There's one called Renovation Angels, there's Remove, there's Reaply. There are many organizations across the country. Here locally, we have one called Unbuilt that will take architectural, structural elements.
Renovation Angels, Rebuilt, Unbuilt.
Unbuilt.
Yes.
Unbuilt. So
Awesome.
the deconstruction, the idea of deconstruction is growing, and I think it's extremely important because the kitchen and bath, the refuse from kitchen and baths accounts for a tremendous amount of that garbage, that trash. So there's really a huge opportunity, and we just need to stop and think. It's like when you engage a client or a client engages you, there's a lead time before that deconstruction happens. So there's an opportunity to stop, have a conversation, and figure out what to do, what can be salvaged, and where to salvage it and send it.
I heard an architect talk about he was redoing his own house, and he called up. He put it online, and then he called up a couple of organizations. I said, listen, I'm going to have all the hardware out on the front. Just come and get it. I'm going to have all the sinks and everything else, and
even Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace. Just tell people it's here. Come get it.
Let Go.
It's
There's
free.
the Let Go site. Every neighborhood has one for free. You just come pick it up. You can get things for free. You can donate. Yeah.
I think, one of the other things that we have to think about is, all of us order a lot of product that comes slightly damaged, and we're kind of told, don't bother shipping it back, right? So what do we do with that product? We often will donate that product to either, to Habitat for Humanity
Yes.
or
The
other
Habitat
organizations.
store.
Yes, exactly.
Habitat
Because
store.
that waste, it's like,
It's
I don't know.
huge.
It's more frustrating than
Yeah.
ripping out
It's
a
just
kitchen. In
stupid
some
waste.
ways.
I know
It's
a lot
stupid
about
waste. It's
this,
stupid
that
waste.
particular area, about upscaling and repurposing furniture and that kind of stuff. It's a huge problem. So there's this wonderful nonprofit based out of Dallas. We did a pilot for a TV show with them recent years, and it's called Well with Dignity. And what they do is they kind of cover all bases. They have a sale of that furniture. Listen, if a designer orders, an 8-layer lacquered piece of gorgeous Italian furniture and it comes off the boat, they've waited 9 months, completely scratched beyond repair because they do have tricks. They're not going to ship that back, but they're also not going to give it to the Section 8 housing nonprofit that they have for single moms. So what they do is they have a fair, and they put all those white elephants, those furniture pieces, they go to the stores. Neiman Marcus is a donor. I mean, they have huge donors. And they say, listen, you get the tax write-off, we'll take the furniture, we'll sell it at a cost to designers, but that money goes to the apartment makeover of Section 8 houses. They need $5,000 per room, and it's beautiful, like anything any of us would want to live in. And they also have fabric, pillows. If a hotel chain does remodel, let's say the Hilton hotels, let's say they're going to change their decor or a fabric was discontinued, but they want them all to have the same look. So they've quite literally got hundreds of thousands of yards of fabric that they can't use anymore, and that would go into a landfill, but not anymore. Now people are aware of this. That's a lot of pillows, a lot of bedding for people, especially for people who have nonprofits for the unhoused that are getting housed. Anyway, that's my 2 cents. Please jump in, because I know you have stories of these kinds of things that people can go to.
I know we're going to do questions in a minute.
Yes.
But I did overhear what you said.
Oh, good. What'd she say?
And I completely agree with you. I don't have all the solutions, but I don't know your name either. So, hello. But she was saying, sometimes I'm also, a little fathomed by, you can be a broker in the city and everyone goes under one contract. And so everyone does their contracts the same way, and that's how you operate. Right. As a designer or an architect, every practice has a different contract with their clients. And so I think it's up to us speaking today to really share with you, if we do have those like habitats of humanity, and we do have those local nonprofits, there should be a platform. I'm hoping maybe we could discuss that with the GFDA, that you guys can go to, myself included, and educate, I need boxes recycled, I need fabrics, or where can I go?
That's a great source.
It would be such a great solution for all the designers and architects to be able to have that platform. Right. So I support you, and I follow.
Okay, but
let me also.
Roseanne.
So there is an organization, a website that has a list of places you can donate the furniture to around the country, and that one I actually wrote it down because I'm that point in my life where if I don't write it down, I might not remember. But it's the Furniture Bank Association. And they
Furniture Bank Association.
Yeah,
okay.
and so, I think it might be the same organization that I originally volunteered for 20 years ago in Atlanta, but now they're a national organization that has names of different local organizations. There's one in San Diego, one in San Francisco, but there's not one in LA. So, somebody can start that. That'd be a great
I want to talk about GFDA. You're deeply involved in this, Greg. Would you tell everyone about the organization, because we really do want to cover that.
Sure,
it's a great source.
Yeah. So, Claudia and I are the co-founders of the Los Angeles chapter of the GFDA, the Good Future Design Alliance, which is based out of San Francisco. And the mission of the organization is really about educating people about waste in the design and construction industries, and looking for solutions, and also supporting the members and connecting members. So it's networking and education and awareness. We are working on a database that would include a lot of these resources and educational events and opportunities for not just for members, but for the community at large. So there's a lot of work to be done, as we've been talking about, and this organization is really at the forefront of creating that education, advocating for change, and working with not only the industry, but policymakers, and just connecting people and making sure that everybody knows there are resources for addressing these issues.
Another thing, I'm not saying go into a house and only use sustainable products, because it's not easy. It's not easy, especially if you don't know where to start. So do what you're doing. Everyone's encouraging you to make your beautiful homes and do a wonderful job. But it's just the little steps of how you can educate and progress. I've just done a line with Costantino, and it launched actually yesterday globally.
Congratulations.
So we're very excited.
We love Costantino.
Costantino really were hand in hand, very much. We aligned completely about our beliefs in sustainability, and they are very active in sustainable and less waste. And what they do on a large magnitude is absolutely just so mind-blowing and very exciting to be a part of. So listen, we all love natural stone, but it's not always practical in loads of areas. And so when you have a client that only wants limestone from Italy and is shipping it all out, but it's going to be in direct sunlight, and you know it's sitting around a swimming pool, and there's going to be 1 million children, and you have a product that looks identical and is going to be 7 times probably cheaper, and there's no upkeep, and you know it's sustainably friendly, why wouldn't you consider suggesting that to the client? You can still do the natural stone in the master suite, in the featured areas, but there is this, it's like a cheap pair of jeans with expensive shoes. You can still make it look good. So I'm all
my life.
about that. And, and I think the clients are really grateful that you bring it to their attention. They don't always have to spend top money. And then also another thing to consider is actually buying the correct amount of product, not overspending
For
on
instance.
so much square footage of waste, whether it's wall coverings, whether it's slabs, whether it's tiles,
push your
etc.
subs to be responsible in that regard.
Yeah, they
there
always
has to be
want
some
Absolutely.
overages, but
Buy
you know.
more, right? Just in case.
But it's 20 yards too much that
That's
you
too
do not
much.
need. Or
You
it's
can't justify that cost either to your
you'll do a
client.
10%
Like, I
overage on a
miscalculated?
job, and they'll miscalculate 30%, and you're stuck with stuff sitting in the front yard
Right.
that you're like, oh, we didn't need it.
There's
You know?
a,
And
there's a
it's
designer
doing
that
your
would-
work.
I'm sorry, what?
I was going to say it's doing your work as a designer too, because how many times have you been told you need 4 slabs, but you really of stone, but you only needed 3, right? And what happens with those slabs? Well, somebody else gets the money from that, right? Like your client has paid for the material that's
And
getting
slabs
paid for
nowadays
twice.
are not cheap.
And no,
We're
exactly.
spending fortunes on slabs.
Yeah.
What are some of the great sustainable brands? I know Kohler has put in a huge effort.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, they have.
Laura Kohler is
Well-
spearheading all of this. I've gone to
Miele.
some talks.
Miele are doing a lot, yeah.
What, give
I
me
mean,
some
There's
other.
a great startup here in Los Angeles called Carbon Shack.
Oh yes, I've heard of them. They're really and the owner is
Furniture,
like amazing.
tiles, fabrics, lighting. So, but honestly, there are more and more brands that
Yeah.
are jumping on the bandwagon, so to speak, not because simply because it's the thing, but also because people are demanding it.
Yeah.
So you just have to sort of do a little bit of a dive and make sure that what they're saying about their sustainability practices is true.
Is really it. So, there's hemp rugs, there's sustainable rugs, there's wall coverings, there's all kinds of things. And actually, we have some of those things here. Greg, tell them about the plastic chairs. You've got to see this stuff. The building blocks of plastic.
So we generally
can't explain it.
try to shy away from plastics and fossil fuel products, but we found a company in the South Bay called Bifusion that takes plastic and trash out of the oceans and out of off the land as well, and compacts the plastics into construction grade blocks, which can be used in building homes and buildings. And we've made a line of furniture out of them, which means carving them a bit and cutting them and stacking them. And every bit that is cut and the sort of plastic dust that's created from the process can then be sent back to them and put back into more blocks. So it's completely circular. And we're pulling trash out of the ocean to make beautiful furniture. So
You've
that's
gotta see
low
it.
waste and
It's
sustainability.
colorful, it's stacked, they're building like, yes, a round of applause. You got to see it. I saw it in the brochure for WestEdge, and you got to go see this stuff. It's so fun, it's so great.
you.
You have sofas in it, but anyway, you got to go see it. I wanted to talk about, Rachel, you talked about sort of, I know it's part of your philosophy in our talk a while ago, about choosing things, being really sustainable minded when placing things in your home. And that whole, if you would go into all of that, because it was really beautiful.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, first of all, I think part of this whole conversation to me is it's wellness and sustainability, and that's how it's all tied together, right? Like, which actually goes into how we make decisions. So in our environments, how can we support each other, connection with each other, connection with ourselves, connection with nature, and be mindful about what we're creating. And that when we're mindful about those decisions, we're creating spaces that we can come back home. We can come back home to ourselves. So that's really where I come from in this conversation. And for some reason, I'm definitely not being as eloquent as I was when we were on our call. And I have a feeling it's
I have it
it's
here.
it's like, because it's so
No, it's
personal
beautiful.
to me. It's so much about creating space to breathe.
Yes.
And
Love that.
in order to do that, you're making decisions that are mindful and authentic to, humanity.
Yeah,
really.
space to breathe. I need some of that advice. Clutter and more things. And you said to choose things that bring you joy, maybe memories, travel.
Right.
Be specific.
And it's also like choosing artisans that you know. There's a story behind it. There's a connection to it. It's a little bit like, when home cooked meals are cooked with love, and you feel that in the flavor of the food. Like that's how I feel about design, right? Like if we are really putting all of that into our projects, we're making good decisions, creating space to think and connect, and it makes the whole project much more beautiful.
Wonderful. I just have some quotes from our phone chat. Be the change. Start by choosing 3 sustainable materials and grow it. Do your research. Designers can go to local vendors and ask, show me your eco-friendly fabrics, your eco-friendly whatever. And, if you have it next time, I'll come and buy a whole bunch, right? That'll
Actually,
help.
even for appliances.
Even for
So,
appliances. Oh,
you know-
let's talk about appliances.
Yeah.
I saw this scary news article. I swear to God, it was last week. It was just on regular local news. The study has come out that gas stoves emit more benzene, the harmful gases, equivalent to breathing secondhand smoke. I went, what? What? I'm a huge fan of gas. I mean, this whole changeover. But I'm like, really? Oh my gosh. No, they did. They said as dangerous, as much as secondhand smoke. Think about that for a second. Chefs cooking inside crowded kitchens, your family gathering. I mean, wow.
So this is infuriating to me, and I feel that the industry, the gas and oil industry, has done an amazing job at romanticizing that blue flame, and good for them that they did such a good job. And now here we are, breathing in the results of that. And there's a lot to be said for cooking on an open flame. There's also a lot to be said for having a home that doesn't make you sick.
Yes.
And a home that doesn't make the earth sick. So there's incredible technology now in induction cooktop ranges and stoves that can be a solution, an answer to that problem. Thermador is making incredible product. That
Who is?
Thermador, if you can afford that, and that is very versatile. And the way that it heats and cooks food is super, super impressive. And obviously, there are less expensive brands as well. And there's just a huge learning curve to get people on board. But when you see articles like that, there's a bit of an impetus for doing it, and support, I would say.
Definitely. You were going to say something.
Yeah,
Yes.
I came back from a panel in Cancun, and I was with the CEO of Miele, and he's also very active about what they can be doing for all of their product. And Miele is obviously a monster machine and a wonderful brand, and we use them frequently on many of our projects. But just in case you didn't know, they are doing. They have 20 years of supply where they actually store those parts, so that should one of your pieces break, like a microwave, they can still service you. They really are mindful, even though they're coming out with innovations all the time and incredible new products, they still want to be able to facilitate.
That's fantastic.
And Cola too. Laura Cola, I mean, she's doing
Beautiful
incredible
products.
things for the industry, and she's making a huge movement in it, along with Constantino. And it's been a pleasure to kind of be alongside them, speak to them directly, and hear about some of these innovations. And if you share interest, I mean, even when you order some of this product, ask them, what are you doing? I know that Cola have a tile. They break down old toilets and into literally powder, and then they make tiles, and they have a tile factory in Cola
That's
town.
brilliant, right?
Where
So brilliant.
they make all these beautiful tiles.
We've
and
all seen
sell
toilets
them.
on the alley or street, something. You just go,
Even
what?
Even La Cornue, which is makes
Yes.
incredible ovens, and they have a great classic look to them. They're also making induction cooktop ovens with that same look.
Wow.
So if
It's
you're going to
actually
go,
becoming-
Induction
I
is
think
a
it's
thing,
becoming.
right?
I
Fabulous.
think it's becoming mandatory.
Yeah.
From what I
Yes,
heard,
so there's-
Yeah.
it's becoming more mandatory.
So
whether
That's
it's
where
to
adoption's really
eliminate
government
gas.
regulation makes an impact.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So the intersection of health and wellness and sustainability, I mean, how can it not overlap if you're making best choices for your clients, for yourself, for your life, for the planet, and so on? I wanted to read a great quote that I saw online from GFDA. Hold on. They have this wonderful page, and it's sort of a forum, and you can go right on it, and it says, our vision. It's a great quote. A world where every designer has been trained in low-waste protocols. Every builder has a trained deconstruction and sustainability expert on staff. And recycling and reuse of materials is a line item on every demolition bid. Every architecture and interior design school includes modules on low-waste design and responsible removable. What's your vision for the future? I love that. What's your vision? Any comments on that? Or should we open it up to questions?
I would just say one thing. When
No,
we
go.
do a lot of product lines, and I think every product line that we've partnered with, we've always, it's our first question, what do you offer in sustainability, and how can we, when we did the rug line, we really wanted to not just use the silks and the wools. We were like, do you have hemp silks? Do you have
So much water.
other things, exactly,
In-
other
to make
materials?
those.
And the clients actually at our price point wanted that. They wanted
Isn't
an
that
alternative.
nice? So you're not getting resistance. How is the temperature read?
Yeah, no, they want
go,
it.
"Oh,
if you
great.
offer it, yes.
That's great to hear.
They'll pay a premium even to have it, even though
Wow.
it shouldn't be a premium.
Right.
It should not. But so I just think it's about if you're doing product design or you're just residences or hospitality, it's up to us as designers to be educated all around.
You are the stewards.
And
Of
I think
change.
just
Yeah.
action,
Action.
right? Like the education, I have a lot of team members who've come out of school talking about like their certificate in sustainability or whatever, but they come in and they have never asked, my team members have never asked a question about sustainability. They have never pushed the envelope. So the education is one thing, but we actually have to do it.
You have to get in the
We have to do
habit
it.
of taking
Yeah.
action to actually implement it.
I want to make a little plug for hemp as a fabric. There are a lot of amazing fabrics out there and a lot of eco-friendly fabrics. There's nothing more eco-friendly than hemp, and it comes in an incredible array of weaves and textures and can be used in a lot of different applications. I want to quote a statistic because to me it's shocking. To grow and produce and make 1 pound of hemp fabric requires 50 gallons of water. To grow and produce and make 1 pound of cotton fabric requires 2,500 gallons of water. Hemp is UV resistant,
about that for a
mildew
second.
resistant, and pest resistant.
You
So,
think cotton natural? Oh,
yeah, organic cotton, great. Not as great as organic hemp or even non-organic hemp. So hemp.
hemp.
And hemp insulation, not just
Absolutely.
fabric.
I mean, hempcrete. It's used in all kinds of
Everything.
applications.
Right. Okay. Well, guys, I think this has been such a great, jam-packed informational talk. Really, really appreciate all of your input and your practices. Keep up the beautiful and great sustainable work, and a round of applause for everybody here. Thank you so much. And now we'll open it up to questions. I bet I know where one is. We're going to go right to your right. There she is.
Hello, everyone that I already
Hi.
know. I just want to bring something up that goes back. I've been in business for many decades. We used to give, and I still do, a 3-ring binder to the client. I go over everything with the staff, and in the binder has where to dispose of something, how to take care of the sofa with XYZ, how to do all of that. And if you all want a second client from the client you're working with, you say, please share this with your friends and family. This is how, this is where, this is what. And I just had a client, I moved from here to the desert, and she had a whole new group of friends. And she had them over, she showed them the binder, 4 more clients. So
Wonderful.
another way to get them is
So not
to,
a question, but a tip.
But can
Thank
I
you.
tip.
can I be honest? A lot of
awesome.
people would not look at that because they want you as the designer and the design team to already be educated on it. They don't want to deal with it. So
Ah,
if
interesting.
anything, we should be sharing that amongst our
With
community.
ourselves. That's a good
So
point.
that we can educate ourselves and not have to,
This could be a money-making venture for you.
Yes,
right
I was going to
here.
say, are you
Absolutely.
available to create that for
Could
my
get
clients?
it published. Online publishing. And a question right here. Yes.
Yeah, this is a great discussion. I've been doing my own research to find all the vendors and do exactly what your guys are saying. And I also bumped into 3D printed furniture that is made out of agricultural waste. Now, I'm a Star Trek fan, so my vision of the future is that replicator. So I was wondering, how do you guys feel about 3D printed as an
That's a good
addition to
question.
the arsenal of how we are going to be more sustainable?
We feel really good about it. We are producing
Hold for the plane.
3D printed lighting out of biodegradable nylon. We're producing 3D printed hardware out of metals. The process is extremely low waste because every bit that you need is used just for what you need it for, and then the rest is used for other products. So it's a very sustainable method for producing, and we're very big advocates.
Brilliant. Beautiful. Beautiful. Next question. Woman in
Hi.
a lovely jacket.
So good to see you all. Great panel. So my question is, and either of you can answer. So when you're pitching to clients, how do you suggest using sustainable products, like in terms of incorporating that with everything else?
can I, for a sec? Firstly, it's not everybody's intention. They don't all start or care. And so I wouldn't go in there saying, we will only do it this way, because the client is the one in charge. But the more you get to know the client, you'll understand and get to, as you do on every project, what they want. And sometimes they'll be super mindful about that for their children. So you can say, hey, I actually know of this paint, and I know of these woods, and I know that it's been cut from the right source, and it's not hurting the wildlife, things like that. So it's up to us, again, just to be educated to offer it. I wouldn't sit there and say, okay, what's your checklist, and let's power through. It's just the more that you guys are working on the project, you can be mindful because you're educated.
So it becomes second nature in a way where just the best decisions are obvious and there isn't, you're not giving them a bad choice and a good choice. All good choices.
Oftentimes for us, we just put the products in front of them or the finishes in front of them that we think are best. And if we feel that a sustainable option is the best, then that's what they're going to see. Sometimes they will ask questions, and it might lead us down a path towards a material we probably don't really want to use. And we just tell them that we will use it if they say, oh, I absolutely have to have that material. We'll go ahead and use it, but we'll then educate them about why we tend to stay away from it.
And as a design build firm, we, as a matter of course, are doing things in a home that we're renovating that are sustainable, changing out insulation or putting in double pane glass windows or water heaters that are low consumption. So that happens whether or not the client is asking for it. And then on the sort of more forward thinking, we're not orthodox about it. We offer the options and then let the clients make a decision and obviously support and urge when they're interested.
For instance, I don't know about you, but lots of our clients like to have chef kitchens now. And you do not need real marble in a chef kitchen. So there's amazing choices. I'm going to plug Constantino again, but they're not the only choice. But, to make a beautiful chef kitchen that's practical for the client, they can entertain as much as they like, and you feel good as a designer offering them a beautiful brand with lots of options. For their main kitchen, they may want natural marble. That's absolutely fine, but at least you're pushing them in the right direction. Again, glam rooms. We've done a lot of glam rooms. We've done a lot of spas. A lot of clients like spas now in their homes.
Absolutely.
And so why do you need to spend? Or, you can incorporate in so many different ways.
Any other questions? Right here, the gentleman in the back. Thank you.
Thank you for doing this. This is a really great discussion. I actually represent a door manufacturer that makes a 70% recycled product. We've also been awarded by the state of Colorado for our manufacturing facility and all that. It's really great to talk about sustainability of products, specifically in design, but what can you talk about energy efficiency and how important that is, not just leaving the product, but also how it performs and how important that is to the whole process? Thank you.
Well, there's two aspects of construction that are important in that regard. One is embodied footprint of the energy that's put into the construction of the home, and then there's operational, which is how the home operates once it's built and the people are using it. So those are two factors that you want to consider. What products are you putting into the home as you're building it? Where do those come from? What is the energy that's used to make them? And then once they're in the home, how is the energy that they are required, where's that coming from? How much is it? And how can we be conscious about that? So it's a discussion that's sort of overarching the whole process. So I appreciate you making that comment. I don't know if
Wonderful.
you guys have a comment.
I think we are out of town. I'm getting the, out of town. I'm out of town. Almost. No, we are out of time, and thank you so much for all of you coming and asking such great questions. A round of applause for Claudia, Rachel, and Greg.